The earth was hard as iron, or at least Elian thought it was. He dug with a rhythm that had become as old as his own spine, a cadence established by the weight of the dead and the silence that waited above them. The village of Salt End sat in the crook of a dead bay, where the ocean had long since retreated, leaving behind salt-crusted soil and the ghosts of things that had walked in the mud before the first stone was laid. Elian was not a man of power, though his hands were calloused and his skin was mapped with the scars of survival. He was the son of a tanner, the grandson of a beggar, a nameless driftwood of the world's lower deck. He dug in the shadow of the old abbey, a ruin where the mortar had fallen to dust and the stones had begun to slither like serpents. The air was thick, heavy with the pressure of the deep, but Elian's lungs were trained for the intake of this specific density. He needed to find the heart of the silence. The village was dying. The blight had taken the roots of the crops and the breath of the children. The water turned black in the morning, tasting of copper and old blood. The High Mother had sent the hunters, the healers, the priests, but they came back with eyes rolled back and mouths sewn shut. Elian had no coin for healing salves, no authority for exorcism prayers. He only had the shovel and the knowledge that the earth sometimes remembered what men had forgotten. When the metal struck a resistance that was not rock, Elian did not stop. He struck again. The earth beneath his feet shifted and the cold wind brought a vibration that rattled his teeth. He found it buried in the bedrock, a place where the soil had been turned to ash by the heat of ancient things. It was not a bone, nor was it a stone. It was a vessel of calcified silence, a jagged rib of the world's ribcage that had been left behind. It was pale, translucent, and felt warm to the touch despite the chill of the abyss. The object did not sit still. It hummed. It was a low frequency, a vibration that traveled up Elian's arm and settled in his sternum, knocking against the heart with the steady, impatient rhythm of a drumbeat. Elian lifted it. The weight was deceptive, negligible, as if the thing had no gravity, only presence. As he turned it in his gloved hands, the hum rose to a pitch that he could hear without ears. It spoke in a chorus of dry, rasping whispers, voices layered over one another like the screams of 1,000 drowned sailors. "Wake," the thing intoned. "I am the hunger." "What do you seek?" Elian asked, though he did not speak aloud. The voice was internal, echoing in the marrow of his ears. "I am the cure," it replied. The sensation of the thing in his grip changed. His skin prickled. The blight on his palm, a rot that had been festering for weeks, began to retract, the flesh knitting itself together with the speed of a lightning strike. Elian took the vessel into the village. He carried it through the gates of the ruined settlement, and the townsfolk huddled in their damp, squalid homes saw him. They saw the light that radiated from him, a luminescence that did not come from the sun. They saw the color return to the cheeks of the child in his arms. The High Mother came to him, her face a mask of desperation. The villagers fell to their knees. They did not offer him gold. They offered him their prayers, their names, their memories. They begged him to take the weight of their suffering. Elian took the vessel deep within his own soul. It did not sit in his coat. It sat in the space behind his ribs. The hum became a song, a constant pulsing melody that defined his existence. He became the voice. The sickness retreated. The crops grew tall and green, though their leaves bore the veins of old scarred flesh. Elian became the patron of Salt End. He walked the streets and the shadows obeyed him. The dead remained in the earth, sleeping, but they spoke to him when he passed. He was no longer just Elian. He was the conduit. But the intent of the thing was not to be served. It was to be consumed. The thing whispered to him while he slept. It told him of the depth of the great things that waited below the crust. It told him of the names of the dead kings and the secrets of the stars that were hidden in the rot. Elian listened. He felt his consciousness expanding, diluting, until he was merely a vessel for the song. The song demanded to be heard by all. The villagers grew healthy, but they grew distant. They did not look at Elian. They looked through him. They saw the thing within him, and they saw themselves in it. The village was saved from the blight, but it was now the host to the hunger. The High Mother tried to remove the vessel to cast it into the sea. She brought the iron chain. Elian caught her hand before she could throw the blade. He looked at her, and his eyes were no longer human. They were the color of the deep, the color of the things that lived in the dark waters. She is the flesh, he thought. She is the rot. The vessel expanded. It grew like a tumor pressing against the walls of Elian's chest, demanding space. The hunger that it fed on was not just life, but the concept of it. It fed on the fear of the dark, the memory of the lost. It fed on the history of the dead. Elian could not distinguish where his own thoughts ended and the chorus began. He was the bone that sang. He walked the shores of the dead bay. The ocean receded, showing the bones of the creatures that had lived there before man. He could hear their names. He could feel their pain. He was the vessel. The hunger was the vessel. The villagers gathered around him. They brought him offerings of salt, of salted meat, of dried skin. They did not offer gold. They offered their souls. They begged him to keep the hunger inside him, to keep the dark away. Elian accepted the gifts. He accepted their prayers. He absorbed them into the song. The song grew louder. The hum became a roar. The ground beneath him vibrated. The sky turned the color of bruised plums. The stars aligned in a pattern that was not meant to be seen but to be understood. The thing inside Elian was telling him that he was not the master. He was the key to what lay below. The High Mother, now frail and old, pleaded with him. She wanted to be the vessel. She wanted to carry the burden. Elian turned to her. He could hear the voices of the dead in her blood. He could hear the sound of the ocean rising in the pipes of the town, the sound of the world ending. "I am the cure," he said, but his voice was not his own. The hunger spread. It went into the walls. It went into the earth. It went into the stars. The village of Salt End was now a monument to the thing inside Elian. The blight was gone, but the rot was there. The rot was the thing itself. The thing whispered the final truth. It said that there was no cure. There was only the cycle. The earth was the mouth. The man was the bite. Elian realized that he was no longer a man. He was the echo of the dead. He was the vessel for the hunger. The hunger was the song. The song was the world. He closed his eyes and he saw the end. He was the bone that sang. He was the vessel. The song ended. The earth opened. The hunger was satisfied.